Birmingham isn't ever going to win any beauty contests either. During the Second World War, it paid a high price for being the powerhouse of British munitions production, when the city took more than its fair share of German bombs. Look around today, and you'll see a town rebuilt by post-war zealots who, seduced by brutalist ideology, saw concrete monoliths and high-rise tower blocks as the surest route to creating a socialist utopia. How wrong they were. However, it has its charms, and today, as the blue sky stands in sharp contrast to the grey concrete, I'm struck by what a great day it is in Birmingham. I make the trip north pretty often because my family still live here, but there's no time for a family barbecue on this occasion because I'm here to see a man about some dope. Birmingham is by no means a crime hotspot. The two most common crimes according to its police force are antisocial behaviour and shoplifting, which is pretty standard for a big city, and crimes related to violence and drugs are in line with the national average. But I'm en route to the house of a man who I know is a criminal. The address he's given me is the more salubrious environ of Birmingham's green and leafy suburbs, so I find myself walking among large detached houses with well-appointed gardens. This is where people with money live. The rhododendrons and azaleas are in full bloom and the lawns have been meticulously manicured. It's regular middle-class suburbia. No sign of the kind of social malaise usually associated with urban crime. I have to double-check the address. The front door opens and inside is a fair-haired young man who looks like he didn't eat enough of his greens growing up. I'd guess he's in his mid-20s, but he's not grown higher than your average 12-year-old. Ben is a friend of a friend and has kindly invited me to his house to see the fruits of his gardening endeavours. The house he lives in is a big Victorian red brick where Ben says he lives with his mother. He also tells me that presently his mother is out, which is why this is a particularly good time for me to come round. He's asked me to protect his identity for various reasons, the main one of which is that his mother doesn't know that he's growing cannabis in her loft. You might not have had a reefer since the days when people still called it a reefer, but it seems pretty much everyone else is at it like Snoop Dogg. The Office for National Statistics estimates that around 2 million adults, 7%, in England and Wales smoked weed last year. I've also heard reasonable claims that the true figure is more than double that. Whoever you believe, what has changed beyond all recognition is where everyone is getting their weed from. Made in Britain is a rare label to see these days, but amazingly, it turns out that in the 21st century, there is one manufacturing industry that is in rude health. No surprise that Birmingham is a centre of excellence. Just don't tell the Germans. Ben pops the hatch to the space beneath the roof and lowers a telescopic ladder. He climbs up, and I follow him into the darkness above. He switches on a small lamp, and I can immediately see that one corner of the ample loft space has been sectioned off with plastic sheeting. It reminds me of a quarantine tent, like the ones the FBI use in the movies when they discover you're harbouring aliens. Ben points at it. "Inside there," he says. Inside there, he is growing hydroponic cannabis. Hydroponics was initially developed by the Dutch for the purpose of producing fruit and vegetables. Holland has a high population density and a relatively poor climate for cultivation, so they developed a system for growing plants indoors. The Dutch worked out that by controlling light, temperature, pH and CO2, plants could be tricked into producing high yields of high quality. At first it was applied to fruit, but it didn't take long before the cannabis industry took over and developed the technology to NASA space laboratory level. As we crawl across the loft space above Ben's mother's bedroom, I can also just make out a very faint mechanical hum that I couldn't hear from downstairs. We shuffle towards it on our hands and knees. Ben peels back the corner edge of the plastic, and at once a bright orange glow floods the upper space. There's just enough room for us to crawl inside. Operation Control. Ben has 2 lights under which plants grow in trays full of nutrient solutions, while an industrial-sized extractor fan recycles air through the